This recording will cover Chapter 5 of your textbook, School and Family Collaboration. I know some of you are in schools now, you are already collaborating with families, with the caregivers. There's a real strong sense of that collaboration between the school and the family. So if you're doing that, keep it up. If you have not had that opportunity yet, you will learn more about that in this chapter. So prior to IDEA, remember Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, many families were not involved at all, and some schools didn't even want parental or family involvement, right? I really feel it should say more families or caregivers here, or whoever the caregivers might be. Maybe their family, maybe not. But school personnel did not want parental involvement because I'm assuming, as I'm assuming you can imagine, before IDEA, there wasn't great services. There weren't great special education services for students with disabilities. So schools, of course, are like, well, no, you don't want the parents to know what's going on here or what's not going on here. But we want to make sure that we're including the parents and the families. And also, we talked about this, I believe, in Chapter 4, the student needs to be involved starting at the latest at age 16, but possibly even earlier, okay? A lot of parents still remain, or families, again, remain uninvolved. And again, not because they don't want to be involved, but they might feel intimidated. Think about all of the acronyms that are involved in special ed, right? IEP, LRE, 504, IDEA, right? It's alphabet soup. And parents or families or caregivers could really feel intimidated. They might not understand their rights. They might think, oh, well, the school and the teachers, they all know what's best. I'm not important. I don't need to be there. But they do, right? The people who take care of these children need to be involved, and they need to be encouraged to be involved, right? So if they are not involved, as the teacher, you might need to reach out and say, hey, we'd love your input, at this meeting about your child, or the person you're taking care of. So let's try to schedule it around your schedule. So hopefully we can try to get some more families and caregivers involved. Collaboration, just kind of basic definition, when two or more individuals or groups work together, right? So we want to think about this. The goal for everybody in education should be to improve services for students. And in this case, it means special ed services for students with disabilities, right? But we want to think about how, when you're starting off with the process, and again, that might typically start younger than when they get to, grade 6, 7, 8. Oh, hold on. My computer just went completely blank. What happened? Okay, I don't know if y'all saw that, but it went completely blank. Oh, it's a brand new computer too. Actually, lies.com. It's a new office, but not a new computer. But anyway, like when we're evaluating students and going through the special ed process, there's really a lot of formal collaboration because there's a lot that can't be done without parental approval, or at least knowledge of, right? And then there should be, and hopefully there is, informal collaboration at other times once the child has been identified for special education services. Well, we need to keep in touch with the families, the caregivers, so that everybody knows what's going on. Think about those students who, if you even say, oh, I hope I don't have to call, Aunt Sue, or I hope I don't have to call your grandfather, or I hope I don't have to call your older sister, or whoever, right? That's going to have a really strong impact on those students. So family involvement can also have significant positive impacts on achievement, attendance, attitudes, grades, motivation, test scores, all of those things. If the student knows that their family and their caregivers are involved and interested in what's going on with them at school, well, guess what? They're going to be more motivated and more, I don't want to say excited because might be a stretch with adolescents, but more inclined to perform to the best of their ability. Right. So again, all of these laws, Section 504, IDEA, No Child Left Behind, all of these laws mandate family involvement, and they stress the importance and really mandate some steps of family caregiver involvement. Again, you might have to be the one to reach out to these families and caregivers and say, hey, we really, really, really want you involved in this. So parent rights, again, I believe most districts, and I think in the new IEP software, oh gosh, I'm going to get the name wrong, SC Ed Plan for SC, something like that. I went through the training, and I will talk more about that with our class in the spring. But whatever the new, it used to be Enrich, and I can't remember. I think it's Ed Plan for SC or something like that. I believe there's a section in there, or I know when I taught in Charleston, we would send home parent rights under IDEA, and it was a big packet. And yes, most parents or families probably did not read it, but at least we could say, hey, we sent this home. They have everything that they need. And when the families would come in for IEP meetings, we would kind of start off by saying, hey, do you have any questions about your rights? You know, do you kind of, not to say, do you understand your rights kind of thing, but just to make sure that the families and caregivers did not have any questions about the right to being notified, you know, in advance of the meetings, the right to consent, the right to due process, right to copies of records, right to independent evaluation, right? If they don't agree with what the school district says, let's say a school district said, no, your child does not have a learning disability, and the families think, I really think they do, they have the right to schedule an independent evaluation, right? That is their right. I said a lot of rights there. The concept of family has really changed over the years. You know, even just calling them parents, right? That's changed a lot. There's no longer the ideal, and I think that should be in quotes personally, the TV family, you know, a mom and a dad and two kids and a dog, probably, right? That was kind of that ideal TV family. Well, we all know this is a lot. Family now is a lot. The definition of family, the concept of family is a lot different now than what it used to be, right? So it could include single parent homes, cohabitating couples, gay, lesbian couples, all of these things. Single parent, you know, who knows what these children, what their living situation is, and we don't really need to know, right? We don't need to know all their business as long as we are making sure that we are inviting whoever they consider their family, right? And I kind of said that in quotes. I know you can't see me, but just to make sure that their adults are getting involved. Whenever I'm out walking my dog and someone always said, you know, if there's a child and they say, oh, can I pet your dog? I always try to say, as long as it's okay with your adult. I don't want to say as long as it's okay with your mom or your dad or your parent, because that person may or may not be that child's parents. So I tried to say, oh, as long as it's okay with your adult, sure, that's fine with me. So I think that's kind of more of the phrasing that we should be using, adults. And I'm going to try to do that, but we all know I go back and forth. So characteristics of, you know, families, adults, caregivers. Again, there might be some more single parent families than kind of back in the day, headed by mothers. The mothers tend to work 3 or 4 jobs. They still might struggle, you know, to not be in poverty. Many families don't speak English as their primary language. If there are 2-parent families, many of the 2-parent families are working. There's a lot more cultural diversity, you know, than there used to be kind of in, like, you know, back in the day, the 50s, 60s kind of thing, when those ideal, you know, the Happy Days and what was it? We Leave It to Beaver. Wasn't that like an ideal TV family? I never watched that show, so I don't really know. It is probably way older than some of you, so you might be like, I don't even know what you're talking about. But we also want to think about cultural impact on, especially as these students get older, you know, especially as they're adolescents. Students' culture could impact futures planning, right? Students' culture could be different from what the school personnel wants. Again, we want to get the student and their, again, quote, family involved as late as 16, but even earlier, age 13, 14, because again, we want to recognize, first of all, the role and the importance of the families, but also, you know, it's not up to us to dictate what they do, what these students do after they leave high school, right? That's not up to us. We need to make sure we are including what the child themselves want and what their adults want as well. So when we're communicating with families, we want to think about active listening, not just, you know, doing 14 things at once and acting, you know, pretending like you're listening. Really listen to what the families have to say. Discuss expectations. Try to be positive about the student. You know, I know some of you are parents yourselves, and if all you hear is negative things about your child, well, that's not really gonna leave a good taste in your mouth. So you're gonna stop being involved with the school and with your child's education, right? Oh, I'll punish the school. I'll show them. Well, that doesn't help the student at all, right? And I'm not saying you all would do that, so please don't think that's what I mean. But we want to make sure we are being positive about these students. Some of these students are going to be a handful, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't need special education services. So try to say something positive, try to focus on their strengths and what they can do well and where they might have some areas of need. You want to make sure you begin meetings with welcomes, introductions, right? Make sure everybody knows everybody and don't just assume the parents understand the lingo, especially, right? We have talked about just the acronyms in special ed. So the impact of disability on families, really can be devastating. And a lot of families, especially think about if you're a younger family, your child has just been diagnosed with autism, let's say. That's going to be a lot of stages. They're going to go through denial. No, they don't have autism. Guilt. Oh, what did I do wrong? Oh, did I give them the vaccine which caused autism? Nope. So then you're going to try to bargain depression, acceptance, right? Kind of those same stages of grief. So we need to be respectful of that. We might not know what stage a family is in, even if their child was diagnosed a while ago, they still might be in some of these stages, right? It's not really our place to say what stage they should be in. Again, parents and stress of children in general, I feel, but also of students with disabilities, of children with disabilities, there could be some extra financial costs. You know, I have a dog and she has Addison's disease, so she gets shots every 21 days. That's a financial burden on me, right? So thinking about that in terms of children and the medical costs and possibly additional therapies or stuff like that, you know, it could lead to some stress for the parents. Problems with other children, you know, maybe some behavioral issues, frustration with children at schools, and then concern for the child's future, right? They might say, well, what's going to happen to my child once they leave high school? Some of these problems might even lead to some problems in the marriages. Siblings also experience stress. Some might express resentment or jealousy, which you're thinking, well, what? But think about if your brother or sister is getting all the attention and everything's focused on you, well, you might be a little jealous. Yeah, you know, maybe the sibling, especially if they're a younger sibling, they might not realize what a challenge you know, having autism or having a learning disability or something like that is for their sibling. They might just see it as, oh, they get all mom and dad's attention, or they get all of our caregivers' attention. Some siblings, especially your older siblings, are going to be embarrassed, right? So professionals should be aware of stress, provide support. You know, grandparents might also experience some stress. So we want to think about different types of families, how we're going to include different families, the diversity that we see now, focus on increased involvement for all family members who want to be involved, right? Obviously, we can't force anyone, but we would like to make sure that we're opening it up to everyone in that family unit, again, whatever that means to that particular student. Develop culturally sensitive classroom, right? You want to make sure we're being sensitive to all cultures, perception, importance of time, personal space issues, right? We want to think about some of these things, dress, food, holidays. You know, I know a lot of places now don't say things like Merry Christmas, right? They say Happy Holidays. You know, you want to know the culture of your school, you want to know the culture of your students, the culture of your classroom, and do what you think is right. When I taught in the Florida Keys, I did holidays around the world. And so we tried to learn. I was in a self-contained class, second grade through fourth grade, and we tried to learn as much as we could about holidays around the world that happen to happen in, you know, December in the wintertime. So some additional keys to culturally sensitive classrooms, thinking about the goals for children, values, roles of nonverbal and verbal communication. You know, your perceptions of nonverbal communication might be very, very different than what your students are bringing to the classroom. You want to provide information to families in native language. If you need a translator, you will need to contact, you know, that's something the district should provide because you want to make sure that everything is in a language that the family unit will understand. Again, you want to include all family members who want to be there. Use a respectful form of address. If in certain cultures they like to be called Mr. and Mrs., make sure you address them as Mr. and Mrs., right? Not Bob and Sue or whatever. So again, find some vocabulary that might help you and conduct meetings in family friendly settings. Okay, so not in like a, you know, sterile office classroom thing, but where they feel welcome as well. Again, school family collaboration is required by IDEA. It really benefits education for students. Parents could be involved because the school doesn't listen. They might be cynical because their input is disregarded. I think that's, or discarded. And parents might think, oh, well, the school knows best. I don't even need to be there. I don't need to say anything. So again, just to kind of finish this chapter, thinking about encouraging participation, focus on active listening, and really consider the parental or the caregiver input. Don't just say, oh yeah, oh, that's not going to work. Really think about it and consider, especially for students at this age, right? Establish trust with those parents and families. Empower parents, empower the families, empower the student, and say, hey, we really want your student to succeed. Let's work together. And overall, just have a caring attitude. Okay, that's it for chapter, what are we in chapter 5? I will be back with chapter 6.